Good evening. I am Devanya Govan Hunt, and I am the president of the Charlotte affiliate of the National Black Child Development Institute. This week we are celebrating National Black Child Development Week. And all week long, we're going to be lifting up policy recommendations as outlined in the Black Child National Agenda, written by the Equity Research Action Coalition, the National Black Child Development Institute, and Points of Access. Today, we're here with Jay Griffin of Frozen Kups, located in Harrisburg, North Carolina, to talk about the policy recommendation that outlines why it's important for us to support Black-owned businesses, Black-led organizations, and career advancement opportunities. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how you doing?
It's so good for you to come and hang out with us or allow us into your space.
Hey, no problem. Glad you're here.
Awesome. So you are the owner of Frozen Kups.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point?
Okay, I'm Jay Griffin, and I've been in North Carolina for about 22 years, specifically 2 days after our wedding. Me and my wife got married back in '99. We have 2 boys. We currently live in the Harrisburg area. How we got to this point, my wife and I were sitting at the kitchen table, feeding the kids dinner. Frazier was fussing, not wanting to eat his green beans. And my wife said that we should open up an ice cream shop in Harrisburg. Now, my wife, she has a background in noticing what environment needs or what's needed, what's not needed in a community, what have you. So she said we should open up an ice cream shop. We had already been talking about opening a business, but we just didn't know exactly what it was we wanted to open up. But she made that suggestion. So while at the table, we had a pencil and paper, and we just jotted down all the things that we needed in the ice cream shop that we saw when we was in Wilmington. Tables and chairs and POS systems and refrigeration. And so I got the big old list and started Googling everything and getting prices for everything. And I kind of like totaled up everything, and then I added 15-20% to that total. And then after that, every payday we were just taking the cheapest thing that we can do to get towards the goal. Paying the $200 for the LLC, opening a bank account, looking at our business name, going to GoDaddy and getting our domain name and everything. So it got to a point where, we did everything besides, the big stuff. So we needed to get a business plan. So after we had created our logo, we needed a business plan. So instead of me trying to write a business plan, I just hired master plans to write a business plan, because I didn't want to procrastinate. I knew I was going to procrastinate. I knew I was going to have grammatical errors. I really didn't know what banks wanted inside the business plan. So they tend to know exactly what banks needed. So I just went with master plans, and they created the business plan in like 7 to 10 days. And after that, I went hunting for money. So that's where my wife kind of like sat to the side. And so I just started to go to the banks and try to pitch the business and try to get funding. It got to a point where I went to a lot of the big banks, and they just told me no, good idea if you was a franchise, all types of reasons. But then I just got that one bank that said, hey, we're going to give you a shot. But they didn't give me all the money that I needed at the time. But they gave me some money. And I went home and did the math just to see if I had enough working capital after everything I needed to pay. Me and my wife, we prayed about it, and in 4 years ago, we opened up Frozen Kups, and we've been going ever since.
Wow, that's quite a journey, Jay.
A lot of journey. It's a long journey, but well worth it.
Awesome. So in this whole experience, particularly as a Black business owner, in these 4 years, what has been some of the most significant rewards in this process, and what have been some of the biggest challenges?
One of the biggest challenges is just being in a space that you've never been through before. It's one thing to be standing at the edge of a cliff and with your family and everything, and then jumping. Okay, a lot of people get to the cliff and they choose not to jump.
Right.
But once you jump, that's the scary part, because you don't know the terrain, you don't know, what you're going to face. You don't have obstacles. You don't have the resources to combat those obstacles. You don't have the people around you that will support you and help you without money, if necessary, to help you to be successful. So that in itself was tough. But going through COVID was probably, I think, was the most seasoned time for us. That was tough, because all businesses was going through the same thing, large or small, those who've been in the business for 20, 30 years. They've never been through this. And so trying to get those relationships and get the understanding of what to do in these moments, they couldn't really tell you because that was tough. And so that season was tough. Having to close my shop for 2 weeks, 14 days, they said, was my crying moment. It was me sitting right there crying that Saturday after I closed up the shop, because I feared that I wasn't going to open back up because COVID was rampant, people was dying, and it was complete chaos all across the world, you know. And so that was tough for me. The most on the other side, the most rewarding is me actually living in my purpose. You know what I mean? My purpose has never changed, you know, since we opened. My purpose is to, you know, to be in the space where God would have me to be at and do what He want me to do, which is to serve. Because I think, you know, all of us are called to serve in some capacity. You know, whether we're doing an ice cream shop, or whether we're doing what you're doing, or whether you're, you know, a lawyer, doctor. You know, it's operating in your purpose. So ultimately, that's the most fulfilling, is being able to do that and to serve, and all the examples of people really being a blessing to me because of me being obedient and operating my purpose. So,
wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that,
Yeah,
Jay.
no problem.
So one of the things that, as I mentioned before, that one of the policy recommendations that's outlined in the Black Child National Agenda actually highlights and kind of encourages government, both local, state, national governments, to really invest in Black-owned and Black-led businesses, organizations, and institutions. You mentioned being in a space that you've never been in before, maybe a lack of instruction, so to speak, or this is what you do next. What do you think are some things that the local government can do to support Black-owned, Black-led businesses? Do you think things like mentorship would help with sustainability or anything like that?
Yes, like even when I started, you know, I looked for not just people that looked like me to mentor me when I was coming into this journey, but they had an organization called SCORE, which was very resourceful, and they kind of helped me to move along in different phases. And if there was areas that I need to focus more on, because we all got strengths, and there's certain things that I wasn't good at, so I can go to SCORE and they'll put a resource in place to help me with that particular area so that I could become successful. And it was an expense that I didn't have to pay. It was free. It was retired professionals that did that. And even through COVID, I still utilized my mentor to help me navigate through this particular space, and especially with the state and the local government, you know, giving out grants, giving out loans, and trying to figure out, is this the right thing for me? Or, you know, sometimes you think about, you know, is this, what's the catch to it? You know, if they're giving you these terms, is there a catch on the other side? So my mentor kind of like helped me navigate through those business decisions, not only just to sustain my business through COVID, but what my business is going to look like post-COVID.
Right.
You know, and they kind of like helped me with that. So I think the local and the federal government should invest more in that part of it. Some of the things they did do, which is provide the grants for minority-owned business, and actually be intentional about carving out money that's only for people that look like us, and having organizational nonprofits attract us, come to us to say, hey, these resources are available, because my mentor, he looks like me, and he's been in the same space as me. He's actually told me about some of these financial products that was available. So
awesome. Yeah. And what an awesome thing to have a mentor, someone that you can turn to and ask questions, especially in this unknown space.
Yeah, paying it forward.
Absolutely. And so, speaking of grants and financial resources, you participated in Retool NC.
Yes.
That focuses on with the National Institute of Economic Development. How was that experience?
That was great. It was kind of confusing a little bit because it was for a lot of businesses. And a lot of it was geared to small businesses, minority-owned businesses, businesses that, you know, had a certain percentage of loss pre-COVID versus post-COVID. even your demographical area, you know, you had to fit within a certain box. But that was a little bit challenging, but the process was really easy, and I think there was a lot of urgency placed behind that product just to get monies to minority-owned businesses to keep them afloat.
Awesome.
So that was great.
Interesting. Well, congratulations on completing the program and getting through it.
Yes, Lord.
That's an awesome thing. Now, Jay, you do a lot of work with neighboring schools and local schools.
Yeah.
Tell us why you choose to invest in schools with your time and your energy and your product.
Because I was a little 8th grader. I was a little 7th grader before, you know, and there were certain things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to, you know, do certain things, but I didn't have the mental know that I should be an entrepreneur. But I wish I had, you know, people in my pathway early on that would show me the value of being an entrepreneur, even in the things that I love to do. And just to see the young people, you know, they're so bright-minded, their dreams is limitless. And why not seed into those babies to let them know that they could, you know, there's no ceiling to what they can accomplish and what they can do. Not just working for corporate America, because ultimately that's a ceiling there. You know what I mean? But when you're self-employed and you're doing something for yourself and that you're doing something that you're gifted at and you love to do, it's endless as to what you can accomplish. And especially being, you know, mentoring somebody that looks like me, that's been through the same thing as me or what have you, that gives them a little bit more motivation to say, you know what, if Jay can do it, I can do it. So there's that relatability there that I drive for. And kids love ice cream, and that goes back to my purpose. You know, God called me to serve, and ice cream is just a byproduct of that. So when you think of ice cream, you think of kids, think of schools, you think of all of those things. So God's given me the platform on the kids that I can seed into them, not just with the ice cream, but just the encouragement to know that they can fulfill their dream, and actually help them through the obstacles that they're facing now to get through it, to keep going.
Awesome. So how does this change the conversation with both students, with children, with the educators that are in the classroom with them, or with just anybody when we have conversations about generational wealth?
Actually, I never had that conversation about generational wealth. You know what I mean? And how the black dollar changes. Like when you think about the black dollar, it doesn't change as often or frequent as, you know, the white dollar. You know, me coming to you, you coming to me buying ice cream, me buying my product from another black-owned business, that black-owned business, you know, getting their financing from a black-owned institution, and that whole cycle. No one's really told me how that works and how that is important, and how, you know, that we all need to support each other. And at one point, that's how it was. You know, back in the 30s to 1800s, you know, they had land, and Mama had peas, and Miss Johnny, she had cucumbers, and they interchanged so that both families could eat. You know what I mean? And I've always wanted to leave a legacy for my kids. You know what I mean? So I want generational wealth so that my kids could be sustained. You know what I mean? Not to say they want to own the Frozen Kups, but they want to be business owners. They want to do something different. But me being able to leave something for them and create that generational wealth for them is what I want. Because my family members in the past didn't leave as much to me as I plan to leave for my kids and my kids' kids. Yeah.
Wow. So then this probably should be a conversation, a part of the curriculum. If we talk about culturally relevant curricula,
it should
this probably should be a part of the conversation, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So for somebody who's watching or listening to this interview, Jay, and they are solely focused on early childhood education, what can you say to help them understand how your puzzle piece, your very significant puzzle piece, lays into this whole picture and is connected to early childhood education?
I was once them. You know what I mean? I have goals and dreams. I have obstacles. I have all of those different things. And I just hope that those young people can know that, you know, if I can do it, I face those same roadblocks. My father passed away when I was 4. You know, my mother raised me by herself when she was 16, 17 years old. You know, I've seen the sacrifices that she's made, you know, but I've always had a determination to do something above myself and tap into my gifts. And I just hope that them young people, you know, would use that as an encouragement to push forward.
Absolutely. So, Jay, if you had to leave people with one thing, and you said a whole lot, you've been dropping nuggets here today in the frozen yogurt shop in this beautiful establishment, what would be the one thing that you would want people to really, really hold on to and take from your journey?
My purpose. You know, my why is my purpose. You know, what am I here to do? Which I'm here to serve. And God has given me the ice cream as a byproduct to do that. I think all of us have a purpose. All of us have a gift. You know, I recognize what my gifts are. You know, and I recognize that God called me to do something and to finish. So I think the reward for me is finishing what He gave me. You know, and when you think about your gifts is your time, your talent, your treasure, your influence. Your gift is that thing that you can do, that nobody pays you to do. They don't have to motivate you to do. Then when you're going through those crushing and pruning moments, you'll find yourself still digging through it, knowing that those crushing moments can't hold you, that you can push beyond those barriers that's waiting for you. You know, so I just want people to know that, you know, I come from humble beginnings, you know, a single mother, but I was destined to do what I'm doing, and I'm called to do what I'm doing, and I rest in that even through the hard times. So I just want people to know that I'm just like any other person, but, you know, I just tapped into my purpose. So.
Awesome. Would that be some of the same things that you would tell another person of color who is trying to establish capital, trying to build capital and establish a business, or walk into conversations or situations that might lead to the type of generational wealth that you described?
Yes. Your purpose is important, because when you tap into your purpose, you understand your destiny and you understand your strengths and you understand your gifts. Because your gifts is going to help you through the tough times. Because when COVID came, I had to really tap into my gifts that helped me through, and my purpose to get through it. And I would tell any person that understand what your gifts are, what you're good at. You can't eat, you can't sleep. You're always thinking about that thing. And you're doing it not for the outward reward. You know what I mean? You'll do it if no one knows that you're doing it.
Awesome. So this is bigger than frozen yogurt.
It's bigger than frozen yogurt. And how I know I'm doing it is when I see families come into the shop that's celebrating life-changing diagnosis. A woman came in here with 20, 30 of her family members celebrating her daughter's favorable she didn't have some sort of dis-ease, and they came to Frozen Kups to celebrate. They could have went home, they could have went anywhere else to celebrate this monumental moment, but she came to Frozen Kups. And she hugged my wife standing right there. Another one is a man, his wife was in the hospital at CMC Maine. She wanted some froyo. He drove from CMC Maine all the way here, stood at that counter and wanted some froyo for his wife. My wife gave him a cooler and an ice pack to take it back to her. You know what I mean? So it's those intangible moments that makes me know that what I'm doing, what I'm sacrificing is on purpose. Awesome. You know, with me closing for 2 weeks, it was the hardest thing that I ever had to do. I could have gave up and quit and said we're not going to open up. But I was tied into my purpose that I seeded 250 some odd cups of ice cream on a Saturday, gave them out for free, prayed over everybody that got it. And I told God, that's my way of trusting you that I would get beyond COVID, that I would reopen. So I seeded and I waited for the rain.
Awesome.
And then it started to rain.
Thank you, Jay. This has been very, very informative. It's been a rich conversation, and I appreciate you sharing your time and your space and your energy with us to talk about why it's important for us to invest in Black-owned, Black-led businesses, organizations, and institutions. It's bigger than frozen yogurt.
Yes, it is.
It's bigger than frozen yogurt, y'all. So remember, we are with Jay Griffin at Frozen Kups in Harrisburg, North Carolina. It is bigger than frozen yogurt. So come out and give Jay a visit. Will you tell the people exactly where they can get in contact with you, or if there are any other services that you offer?
Yes, we're located at 4481 Schoolhouse Commons in Harrisburg, North Carolina. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our handle is Frozen Kups. That's cups with a K. Also, not only do we offer 24 rotating flavors of gelatos, Italian ice, and sorbets, yogurts, and custards, but we also have a food truck. So you have a birthday party, you have a community event, you have a citywide event. Consider Frozen Kups for not only your ice cream, but for your breakfast and lunch items.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Remember to check out BCDI Charlotte all week long as we celebrate National Black Child Development Week. We are lifting up policies as outlined in the Black Child National Agenda. America must deliver on its promise. These policy recommendations are outlined by the Equity Research Action Coalition, the National Black Child Development Institute, and Points of Access. We'll see you next time. Thank you.